tragically died when she was trapped in that suction in the family hot tub and drowned.
Do you know what your liabilities are if someone gets injured or worse in your swimming pool? Well, that's what we're going to ask the lawyer today on this episode. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and my guest is attorney Alan Robertson with the Sloan Law Firm in Longview, Texas. Alan, thank you for making some time and help us out today.
Of course. Glad to be here.
So what should homeowners, obviously specifically in Texas, understand about having a pool, especially when they have people over who swim in their pool?
Well, the main thing that you need to do is make sure that those who are swimming in your pool are swimming at a depth that is comfortable for them, that's consistent with their abilities. You need to make sure that no one has access to your pool that you've not specifically provided access to. By that I mean, you need to make sure that your pool is fenced so that children, especially those of a young age, cannot get access to the pool without parents or adult supervision looking after them.
As far as the fencing around the pool, Alan, I want to stop you right there for a second.
Sure.
Is that a state law, or is that just good advice? Obviously, to be safe, that makes sense to me. But is there a law about that?
I'm not aware of there being a state law about that. In fact, many people have pools that are not fenced, and there's many ways to do this that's still attractive for your landscaping in the area around your home. But the main thing is you want to make sure that you know who's using your pool and the abilities of the people who are using your pool.
What are the responsibilities or the liabilities for a homeowner if they have a guest who they've invited to be in their pool and they're injured in their pool? What happens then?
Well, it depends on how the injury occurs. Of course, with any kind of physical activity, injuries are prone to occur. However, the standard by which you're judged is this reasonable person standard. In other words, would a reasonable homeowner have acted in the way that you did under those circumstances, or would they have done more to prevent or mitigate either prevent the injury from occurring altogether or mitigate the severity of the injury?
Where does the responsibility lie? Say my pool's not deep enough for people to dive in. Is it just enough for me to tell people, visitors, hey, don't dive? Do I need to have a sign posted? Where does the liability lie?
Well, under those circumstances, this is a backyard pool that you're describing, and so a verbal warning should be enough. This is not a situation where you need to go to the extent of having great bright signs or waivers, although you can do that. One thing that you should be certain of is that you do not have equipment near the pool that would encourage people to engage in behaviors that would be inconsistent with the depth or other construction of the pool. For example, using the scenario that you outlined, if you have a pool that is too shallow to dive in, you don't need to have a diving board or a diving platform constructed. You certainly don't want people in any circumstances jumping off of the house, the roof of the house, or the roof of other structures nearby the pool. So careful planning in how you construct the pool and the pool deck around the pool is crucial to avoid putting yourself in a bad situation.
Obviously, people tend to not make the wisest decisions when they've had a little alcohol in their system. Alan, what if I'm having a pool party and I'm serving alcohol at my party, and someone is injured and maybe they made a bad choice because of the alcohol? That gets murky, I would guess. What happens then?
Well, again, you're judged by that reasonable person standard. You know, if someone gets to the point where they're slurring their speech or having bad decisions, then it's incumbent on you to cut them off of serving them alcohol. You know, there may be a situation where you need to ask someone to leave and then call a cab or a ride-sharing service like Uber or Lyft, or get them a ride home with someone who hasn't had anything to drink, so that they avoid injuring themselves. All of these things are things that you can do to avoid putting yourself in a bad situation, and they're not costly, and your friend will likely thank you for it later.
We've talked mostly about backyard pools, private pools. What about when you're talking about a public pool or a community pool? Are the rules different with that? And walk us through that a little bit.
Absolutely. The rules are different for city or county-owned pools. Those pools, the claims of negligence against the city or the county are subject to the Texas Tort Claims Act, and that act has caps on the city or municipalities or the county's liability. So before you take your family swimming at a city or county pool, you need to make sure that everyone in your party is able to swim at the depths you're going to allow them to swim. You need to be certain that you're supervising them adequately. And if you have non-swimmers in your group, you need to have some sort of a flotation device on them so that they don't get into trouble and injure themselves that way. Because you know, your ability to recover from a city or a county is so much more limited because of the Tort Claims Act.
What about a privately owned pool, say at a hotel or something like that, a resort?
A privately owned pool, there are additional industry standards for a hotel or a commercially operated pool. Mm-hmm. That's where you see, you mentioned signs earlier about no diving and whether there's a lifeguard on duty, that sort of thing. There are industry standards in place that form kind of the idea of what a reasonable hotel operator or a reasonable commercial swimming pool operator would do under those circumstances.
But I would assume just having a sign up or something like that doesn't mean they've now not responsible for any issues that may arise.
That's correct. And because those privately run pools, whether it's by a hotel or a water park operator or somebody like that, because those are not being run by cities or counties, they're not subject to the Texas Tort Claims Act, and there are not those caps in place on liability like you see with municipally owned or county-owned pools.
In your experience, Alan, have you seen situations, examples of mechanical or design defects that may have caused problems in pools?
Certainly. One of the most common defects that you have is a main drain that is either missing its drain cover, or it is a cover of a type, an old cover that predates a change in federal law that creates a suction. And until the pool pump is turned off, if someone is trapped by that suction, people coming to that person's aid are not going to be able to defeat that suction and lift that person off of that main drain. You see now in a lot of commercial settings, there's a big red button near the pool that's clearly marked, that's kind of a kill switch for the pump and filter system to turn off that suction. In fact, former Secretary of State James Baker's granddaughter tragically died when she was trapped in that suction in the family hot tub and drowned. And so making sure that that main drain is covered, making sure it has a cover that's been manufactured since 2007 when the federal law changed as a result of Secretary Baker's daughter's drowning and her granddaughter's drowning, and her mother's, Secretary Baker's daughter, advocating on her behalf. You want to make sure that those drains have those covers that are designed to prevent that sort of tragedy from occurring.
So if you have an older pool, you need to have somebody check that who knows about that sort of thing. That's great advice.
That's exactly right. Someone that is qualified, that knows pool design, pool maintenance, having them come out maybe every 5 years or so. There's no law, there's no regulation that requires this, but just to make sure that you're current and up to date on all the safety devices. That's pretty inexpensive insurance to make sure that a tragedy doesn't occur in your own backyard.
Just makes good sense. Very helpful, very timely information, Alan. Thank you so much for helping us out today.
Glad to do it. Thank you, Rob.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Texas attorney Alan Robertson. If you want more information or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, make sure to go to askthelawyer.com. Also, please take a sec to like, subscribe, and share by clicking on the button at the bottom of the screen. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with askthelawyer.com.